Welcome to Behind the Build with Alside. I'm Mike Gennari, a director of sales with Alside, and this podcast is all about the people and the stories behind what we do every single day in the field. Everyone sees the wins, the new customers, the big orders, and the handshakes. But what they don't always see are the miles, the setbacks, and the tough conversations, and everything that goes into earning those wins. Today on Behind the Build, we're pulling back the curtain on the trials and tribulations of being a territory sales manager. I'm joined by our New England sales manager, Jared Hyland, and TSM's Brian Terwilliger and Kevin Rule. We got some great stories, plenty of laughs, and maybe a few lessons learned along the way. Let's dive in. So Jared, we'll start with you. Just let us know a little bit about yourself, where you're from, your industry experience.
My name is Jared Hyland from Upton, Massachusetts, about 20 minutes south of Worcester. Been in the industry a long time. Started with Harvey Building Products.
Where are they?
They are headquartered out of, it's in Lansing now.
Okay.
So
Is that the one you worked at?
yes.
Okay.
So worked in Southborough, that branch. Started warehouse, inside sales,
Yep.
outside sales. Then ended up going on to a couple of our other competitors. So I've been in the industry 17 years now,
Okay.
and loving every minute of it.
Are you though?
I am very lucky to have such a great team that, aside from the many challenges that we do have,
Yeah.
it's they make it easy on me. So
I'd like to ask this too, is did you choose to get into building products? Like when you were younger, were you like, I want to sell lumber, or was it something you fell into?
Well, I went to school for journalism, so
all right,
I would
close.
say no. But it's one of those things where I took the job and had to start making some money, and
Yep.
just kind of fell into a career.
Okay. And you're the sales manager up here.
Yes.
And you cover from Portland, Maine down to Brian's branch, which
Correct.
is Berlin, Connecticut,
All
right?
in New England.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Okay. Brian, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, out of Berlin, Connecticut.
Okay. Do you live in Connecticut?
I do. I live in Bristol, probably about 10 minutes from Southington, Bristol
Yep.
area.
Okay.
So, yeah, born and raised in Connecticut. Moved to Louisiana for almost 10 years.
Okay.
Was a teacher and a coach down that way.
Wait, what did you teach? I don't think I knew that.
History,
Really?
PE.
Did you know that?
I had no idea.
Kind of the coaching route of things.
Yeah,
if you will,
yeah.
Like, history teacher.
Yeah.
I still get made fun of it by the guys, robbing it in the inside.
Really?
Oh, you're just a history teacher.
So then how building products?
My dad was in construction growing up, more on the excavation side of things, dirt work,
Okay.
putting in septic tanks, things like that. I knew that it was a good industry to be in.
Yeah.
When I moved back from Louisiana about 3.5 years ago, is when I jumped back into it. I knew I didn't want to teach anymore.
Yeah.
Nothing against it.
Yeah.
Just through COVID, I saw different things. And so, chose to go a different direction. And that's when I got with a window company who I was buying from Alside at the time.
So you were an Alside customer?
Yeah, I was. Yeah.
Okay. And
then,
you still decided to join Alside?
just something, yeah.
It's funny because I say the company I came from, we were an Alside customer, a large one. It's funny you come from one as well.
Yep. So, so here I am.
Okay, cool. How many years experience?
At Alside, I've only been
Just
here
in
about
general,
two
building
years.
products experience.
I'd say about 5.
5 years?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, Kevin. Wait, TSM, Territory Sales Manager out of Berlin. I don't know if you said that or not.
Yes, TSM out of Connecticut.
Kevin?
My name is Kevin Rule. I am the territory sales manager for our Randolph, South Boston branch,
Where we sit right now.
where we sit right now,
Yep.
headquarters. I've been with Alside for 4 years, been in the industry for just under 10.
Awesome.
Started with Harvey's before they were bought by.
Oh, did you guys
Lansing.
work together?
Jared got me my first job.
Oh, awesome. That's cool. So did you guys know each other before Lansing or?
Yeah.
did.
So when I growing up, I was very good friends with Kevin's brother.
Oh, all right, cool.
So we knew each other all
That's
along,
cool.
And, Kevin came to me one day looking for a job and got him right in the door.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, was ready to get into sales. I started in social work and did that for a few years. And
Is that something you wanted to do like out of college, social work, or?
I went to school for criminal justice and psychology. Worked in a group home for like 3 years.
What was that like?
Chaos.
I could imagine,
yeah. And was looking to get into sales, and my brother And Jared, who go way back, mentioned that he knew a few people that might be able to get me an inside sales job to get my toes in the water. That was at Harvey's. Before,
Harvey, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Before,
yeah. So we'll end up saying Harvey a few times.
Now Lansing.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were purchased
Okay.
by Lansing.
So Jared got me my foot in the door, and kind of similar to these guys, just sort of backed into a career that I've fallen in love with.
Awesome.
So yeah, I live in Boston, about 3 miles from Fenway Park. So
Oh, do you really?
I do. My wife and I live in Alston, 2.5 miles from Fenway, still 25 minutes in the car. So like 30 to 45 minutes from the store, depending on
Boston
what time of
traffic.
day and Boston traffic. So right in the middle of the territory, can kind of go any direction and be right where we're servicing our customers. So.
Cool. My wife and I, we love Boston. I can't say that out loud in New York, but it's funny. When I was driving here yesterday, she said, I've been itching to go to Boston, and we'd like the city to just walk around and check shit out and not wear our Yankee stuff.
Yeah, it's good.
Or Knicks.
It is. It's a great city to walk around in. It's so much history and everything. And
It's pretty cool. So you said, was it 10 years?
Just under 10 years.
10 years. Brian, you had 5 years. I just like to go through like the years of knowledge when we sit at a table. So we're at 15 years. Jared?
I'm 17 years.
17. So that's 32 years. Plus, I started at 16 in a lumber yard. So I'm now 48. So I've had 32 years of fun experience doing this stuff. So we're over 60 years experience sitting at this table, which is cool. But the women do have you beat, because the Women in Building Products podcast we had over 75 years of experience sitting at the table, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's cool.
So in the over 60 years of building products experience, I am damn sure that you three have been through some shit. So one thing that came to mind first, because I live this, is what people think a TSM really does. And when I say that, I experience it a ton when I'm in the supply centers of the SSRs, thinking all a TSM does is play golf, go out to lunch, and drop donuts off the job sites. And I call bullshit on that immediately, though we do that stuff. It's part of the perks of the job. But I feel like there is way more nonsense that is dealt with at the world of SSRs, or people that just look at a TSM role. They don't realize the bullshit that goes along with the role. So I want to open that up to you three and just kind of, have you experienced that with SSRs? Like they make comments like you don't do anything, you're just going out to lunch and all of that type of stuff. Like, what does that look like for you guys? Brian?
Yeah, I mean, look, especially me only starting about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I had big shoes to fill. The guy previous before me, he passed away. So
Yes.
and he had big territory. I had big shoes to fill. So it was a tough transition for the SSRs and the branch and myself all together at one time.
Yeah.
So
Because you were coming in after Kevin passed away. So it's like, here's the new guy.
here's the new guy.
And now you need to adjust and they need to like you. And I'm going to tell you a quick story because I was in that exact situation. When I first started inside sales at Florence Building Materials, I was 21 or 22 years old. The gentleman whose position I took was only 33 or 34, just passed away from cancer. Literally. So we had a row of like 8 salespeople. The middle chair was now empty that I had to sit in, that this guy had just passed away, Mike Bonich, rest in peace. And so I was not accepted right away, right? I sat next to a really grumpy 70-year-old guy who was best friends with Mike Bonich.
Right.
Like they were like father and son. This guy would not even freaking give me, I would be like, George, I need a code for White J channel. He would just ignore me like I didn't even ask a question. Yeah. So I feel your pain in that manner.
Yeah, very similar. Very similar. But no, I think in general, you know, as a sales guy, as a TSM, we kind of put pressure on ourselves.
What do you mean by that?
I'm going to say it like this. I guess SSRs don't necessarily always hate you or think that you're golfing or think that all you do is bring donuts. I think that there's just always kind of that target on your back as a sales guy.
Mm-hmm.
And look, some pressure is good pressure, but I myself feel like I've got to accomplish. I've got to sell more. I've got to, and that really doesn't have anything to do with the SSRs or the inside sales team. Some of it comes from that.
You mean it's pressure you're putting on yourself?
Correct. I think that they'll always put pressure on you, the SSRs and your inside team. If they're good coworkers, if they're doing their job, they should bust your balls.
Yeah.
You know, but I do think as a sales guy, there's a target on your back, but it's self-placed.
All right. I think Brian danced a little bit in that answer. It's just my 2 cents, but I think he doesn't want Ed hearing him say, they give me shit.
That was definitely a politically correct answer.
Jared, what about you? You experienced that stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, I think everybody does in the industry. And, you know, it's, I always found that, you know, when I used to have to deal with it, it was more like the more tenured people. Yeah. That I kind of felt like, I don't want to say jealousy, but maybe like a little bit.
Could be.
Maybe a little bit of that because you get to leave the branch. You get to go see customers.
Yeah.
You get to, like, you have control over your day where they're stuck at the desk.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think the best way to combat that typically is by performing.
Yeah.
By bringing in sales, bringing in customers, you know, showing them that you're working, showing them that you're performing for them, because ultimately their livelihood is dependent on how well you do as a sales rep. So I think the best way to combat that, honestly, is, you know, we buy them lunch once in a while. We make sure.
Well, it's a good way. Food's a way to the heart, right?
You know, we make sure, you know, they're happy, but they are, you know, Kevin, for example, like Kevin, I know Brian too, you know, everybody, they're constantly in contact with the branch. Yeah. What's going on with this? What's going on with this? If they were to disappear, like Kevin was gone for, hey, I haven't heard from Kevin in 3 days. That's when the tension starts to build up. Yeah. But I think if there's constant visibility, constant communication, I think it can kind of alleviate some of that.
I wholeheartedly agree. I think TSMs have a lot of pressure on them because you need to sell. When you need to sell, you're based off numbers, right? So it's black and white. It's like you're either doing good or you're not doing good because numbers show if you're selling or you're not selling. And Jared, you brought up a good point with communication with the branches, because what I have experienced so far, been through 2 negative situations. The TSMs that do not have a relationship with their branch or an ongoing relationship, are the ones that do not make it and they fail. Right? When you don't work well with your SSRs or your branch manager, regardless of personality differences, you need to put that shit aside. You're not going to have beers after work. You just need to be able to work together during the day. The ones who have those working relationships are the most successful, and the ones that do not are the ones that are failing when it comes to sales.
I agree, Mike. Make sure the customer's happy. And everyone, you know, succeeds.
I mean, sometimes it's a good thing because there's passion involved. When people don't care, you'll never have any headbutting or anything. And I've got into matches with people, and we 10 minutes later, we're fine. It's when you hold those grudges and you don't get along, that's when you start to run into problems where you're not successful. Kevin, what about you?
I am coming from the polar opposite situation of Brian, really, where I did not have big shoes to fill. There were no shoes for me to fill when I first got here.
Why, was there no TSM out of here, or?
There hadn't been, and the previous couple of guys who had done the role, from what I had been told, hadn't done a great job. You know, some of the guys that maybe did a little bit too much golfing and working from home. So I came in and we have a whole new team at this point. But it was really building it from the ground up. And Tommy has joined us. Rick, our ops manager, has joined us. Pete, Mike Darpino. And I have a great working relationship with all of those guys. I think that what you mentioned about, you know, they see my passion day to day. They know that, especially this time of year when we're dealing with vacations, family stuff. We have guys away. It's the busiest time of the year. They know that if they're down a guy, they have 2 trucks coming in and they need 3 hours from me, that I will dress down, come in, unload a truck, take return, you know, man the counter with them, get in the trenches. I think that goes a long way.
Sure does.
Some of that understanding. There's also, you know, we're sales guys. We're not supposed to be here. It's, you know, if we're spending 15 hours a week at the branch, our coworkers should be telling us, get the heck out of here.
I like that.
Go out on the road and bring us some sales. We got it here. That's an important part of it. But I think visibility, you know, showing up to the store, being supportive of your guys, buying lunch once in a while, you know, going out there, you know, I'll help go pull an order if these guys are busy. You know, anything that I can do to alleviate some of of the pressure on them because we are staffed to perfection.
Yeah.
Operation,
I sense
which means that we run lean.
We run so lean.
So, if we've got a guy on lunch and we've got Rick on a conference call and Tommy's got a guy at the counter, and I need to go grab a couple bundles of shingles to get the customer out of there so that he's not waiting 25 minutes, then that's what we got to do. We don't want to make a habit of it. It's not the best use of my time, but it does, again, you have a $1 million customer come in and his sales rep that, comes and does a sales training with him is also out there hauling shingles into the back of his truck.
Yeah.
He's like, this is a guy who cares and is, and is invested. Right. That's where I think a lot of our success comes from is taking complaints from customers and finding solutions, but also making it palatable for our guys on the inside where we're not pointing the finger, is kind of finding that communication to our team to maintain the relationship with the customer. Right. So sometimes that's solving the issue first and then having a conversation after the fact being like, fellas, we saw the delivery pictures. We didn't do our best here. So it's, there's accountability on both sides. They, if they need support here, I'm here and I expect them to kick me out of the branch if I've been here for 4 hours and they need me to go get some business. So
I like that.
Yeah, I think that I'm very, very fortunate. I've got guys who know that I'm invested and passionate. Tommy and we clash only because there's passion on both sides.
Sure.
Tommy's been in the industry. He's been with Alside 20 years. He's celebrating this month.
Oh, awesome.
He's learned more in this industry or he's forgotten more in this industry than I have learned. Right.
You brought up something, Alside running lean, which I didn't realize until I joined Alside, how lean we really do run. And that's a great point because I want to open it up to you guys. Running as lean as we do. I know, Kevin, you mentioned sometimes, TSM has to help out in the branch and you have to do stuff. How does that negatively affect your roles? How lean we run? Is it that you're pulled out of the car when you should be on the road selling and they're like, hey, so-and-so called in today, we need you in the branch? Do you guys go through stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that, for us, it's a constant battle of, the chicken and the egg. Do we need the sales to back up the need for additional bodies? And it's, it's like Brian, Jared, and I would say, you give us the bodies and we'll get you the sale. For the first couple of years I was here, it was fight for every order. I tell Rick and Jared and Keith and you get me another truck and another driver, and I promise you I will keep that truck and that driver busy 5 days a week. I cannot have a truck sitting out there at 1 o'clock in the afternoon in July.
You brought up a good point, and I just want to make this comment. Nothing drives me more crazy than when an empty truck is sitting there, but then we're telling our customers if it's Monday, we can't get the delivery there until Wednesday. I'm not used to that world. I'm used to, we don't say no. We used to have our drivers out till 7, 8 o'clock at night. If the customer wants a delivery, let's get it to them. If they want it first tomorrow morning, let's see if we can get it to them this afternoon. So that way the material is there on the job site. I hate to see that. I hate to see truck sitting or a truck rolling that just has 10 square siding on it and that's it. Brian, what about you?
Yeah, look, I was in the branch yesterday and similar situation. Customer was there waiting on some material. I went and pulled the order. It was about 4 or 5 different line items because we do run lean. But I was happy to help. I was happy to jump in and get the customer what he needed. I think it's an interesting spot because it's something that we can use to our advantage, right? Yes, we're not one of these other supply houses that service every mom and pop out there that pull up into a white van, but we can use that to our advantage. Sometimes it's tough being lean, but at the same time, our service could be impeccable. We can really be on top of from point A to point Z.
Do you think if you were to have your choice, if you had a checkbox, you were just starting, would you choose lean or not lean?
If I just started, I would say not lean. I'd say, hey, I want to be a part of a company that, hey, this box is checked, this box is checked, this is taken care of, this is taken care of. But now that I'm into it, I can see kind of the beauty of it being lean. And hey, we're kind of, and every supply center is different, but everyone's kind of running their own little business.
Sure.
Whether it's up here in Randolph or down in Berlin or wherever it is, right? We have kind of our own business of operation going on, and we have a big part in that.
You have a larger than a big part. I think the TSMs are the lifeline of the branches.
Be careful who you're talking to now, because Ed and Rob will say,
Well, like you said, every branch is different, and every branch, some TSMs are more successful than the others. But hey, listen, this has been the age-old homage, right? Sales versus operations. I used to try and get my operations team to understand that sales keeps the lights on and they pay your paycheck, right? It's just like the guys or gals loading the trucks. If Kevin or Brian come out with an order at 2:30 in the afternoon, what do? They get pissed, right? It's like, oh, we have to pull this freaking order now. It's got to go out right away. This is BS. I want to go home. But those orders are what keeps money in their direct deposit and what keeps the lights on for them to have a job. Yeah. So it's interesting in that aspect. Jared, what about you?
Yeah, just to kind of pile onto that too. And I think these guys kind of went down that same road. It's, running lean's an opportunity for the TSM specifically to show their value to customers.
Very true.
If some guy's sitting in his truck outside, he's waiting for, Paulie, the warehouse guy, to come over, and Kevin comes over with, 2 bundles of shingles, and he's, oh man, like he actually cares about my business. Yeah. He wants to get me out of here so I can get to the next job.
Yeah.
They don't forget stuff like that.
I agree.
I used to have a little sedan that I used to throw, 8 bundles of shingles in until it was dragging on the ground. But you go to the job site and they'd be like, oh, look at that guy. Like, he's here to help me.
Yeah.
And, just to credit that too, like these guys run lean. And I know for this year, there's such a focus on new business.
Yeah.
Like while running lean, these guys in the New England region are upset on new business.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So it's just like, they don't, it's very easy to make that as an excuse.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to take care of my customers. Yeah. We're running lean, but they're still out hunting business.
Yeah.
Bringing in new labels. And so it's just a testament to them.
Yeah.
I think you can look at it as a detriment or opportunity. And I think each one of these guys uses it as an opportunity to show their value to the customer.
I agree. And when it's a leaner branch, you're not just a number, right? You're heavily involved in day-to-day activity, operations, decisions, all of that fun stuff. When you work for a larger company with all these acquisitions in the world taking place, you're one of many outside salespeople out of certain branches, and you kind of get lost in the mix, I would say. And people don't recognize your efforts and your success as much when that happens.
Yeah, right. Like I think you came from a very similar, like we were very overly staffed. So
I meant to make a comment before because we were talking about the SSRs and TSMs, and Jared, I think you mentioned like something along the lines of inside salespeople like wanting to do what outside salespeople do. Kind of, I was that guy. When I was an inside salesperson, I was young. Like I said, I was 21 years old, but I was there for 7 or 8 years. And man, when I get jealous when these guys like were in their golf clothes or they were going to a concert or one of the DP reps invited them to dinner, I'm always like, fuck, man, what about me? Like, am I going to get invited to this shit?
I mean, I pretty much strong-armed my way onto the road.
Yeah.
I was just inside stewing every day. And, my branch manager at the time, he could see that it was bothering me.
I want to say a disclaimer. Golfing's not a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Having fun, drinking a couple beers or whatever, just having a good time. I want to jump back to kind of like the nonsense you guys deal with. And so what do you think, Brian, is the hardest part of your job?
Hardest part of our job. Let's see. So controlling what we can control.
Yeah.
Sounds easy.
But what do you mean by that though? So, you mean like lead times or things like that? So
like lead times and quality control and all that stuff is kind of out of our control.
Yes.
Which we can't really do anything about.
Yeah.
We can send emails, we can call, we can pick up the phone and say, hey, what's going on down at the factory? Whatever. It's more so what's inside the walls, what's inside the organization.
Yeah.
Did we leave a stick of J off the order? Did we forget a couple windows on the truck?
So operational stuff?
I think, controlling all the things that we can control, it's not as easy as it sounds. And if we can do that, we eliminate so many issues. You talk about nonsense. we can eliminate a lot of issues, but also increase sales.
Yeah.
So just kind of staying dialed into our book of business and our business that we're, I alluded to earlier that we kind of run our own business.
Yeah.
Whether it's having meetings with the drivers and, hey, these are the orders going out, and kind of crossing every T and dotting every I.
Sure.
And not forgetting a box of J or whatever it is, right? Salesforce and the different tools that Alside has given us has helped.
Yeah.
It's been great. But yeah, you've got to be organized and you got to stay on top of your shit.
I'm seeing a very slow morphing from Salesforce. It started like this: Salesforce sucks. Then it went to, okay, I'll meet my metrics. Now it's like when I say slow, it's at a snail pace, but people are starting to slowly understand Salesforce can be a tool to help them be successful if it's used the correct way. It's not a tool for Jared or I to go into and say, you only did 3 stops today. What are you doing? As a TSM, when I used it religiously. I used it as the tool. Oh, today's Brian's birthday. And like it's a tool that sellers are starting to slowly see, like I said, the value in it. Kevin, what about you?
Can I hop in on this?
Yeah, of course.
Just because I think every region has a different kind of mentality toward it.
Yeah.
And I think the Salesforce mentality up here has always been that it is a good resource.
Yeah.
It's how we use it as a resource.
Yeah.
Events, stuff like that to keep track of who they talk to.
Kevin, what about you? Toughest part of the job?
We cannot send the wrong color corners
Yes.
to a job 2 hours away.
Yeah.
That kills us. And then really it's a constant battle with our ops guys of, are we maximizing the trucks today?
Yes.
Don't think about like if you're getting a call for a delivery and Thursday is wide open, but we have availability to get it today. Let's explore today before we look at Thursday. It's making sure we have full trucks going out as many times as possible. And sometimes that requires some pushback. You call in, hey, I've got this going to this town. I'm looking at this day. Oh, we're kind of full that day. And you look at it and you're like, we're all over the map, but that's only half of a truck. We can add one more order on there and one more stop onto the run. So you have to be, for us, and for me, it's knowing when to push back, who to push back with.
Sure.
And again, really, you need to have the conversations on the front end to set those expectations. Otherwise, you're going to have a customer who calls you the day before their siding crew is going to get there saying, I need this material.
Yeah, exactly.
I need this material there at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, which is not realistic. So if we have those conversations on the front end, we have what we need on the back end to say, hey, we talked about this 3 weeks ago at the point of order. We you were aware that we are not going to be able to get this out in 24 hours. So you need to talk to your siding crew, or you need to arrange for pickup. Yeah. Or if we set up a common carrier, this is what it's going to cost you for a third party shipping company if you have to have it there and you can't pick it up. That way they're not blindsided on the back end.
My 2 cents, the hardest thing about being a TSM is being a TSM. Hats off to TSMs all day long. I did it. I lived it. I breathed it. It's not an easy job. Agreed. And we'll go and I'll ask you all about the best thing, but I'm going to say the best thing about being a TSM is being a TSM also, right? It's like freedom. You're running your own business, Brian, like you mentioned before. It's something different every single day. You're not just sitting in a cubicle doing the same thing like over and over again. But that comes with challenges, right? Sales is not an easy career by any means, especially in building products, because there are so many outlying factors. The world, right? Look what's going on in the world today. Price increases left and right because of raw materials, all this stuff. And then the TSMs have the great part of having to deliver that message to their customers to say, I know there was just a price increase 2 months ago, and here's another one, But like I said, there's also so many benefits. I think you guys feel the same way, or else the 3 of you probably wouldn't be sitting in these chairs today, that you can be very successful. You can make a really good living. And I want to go to what you guys think is the greatest part of your job. Like, what do you like the most about it? Jared, you want to start?
Yeah. I mean, my job personally, or
no, your job personally as sales manager.
Favorite part of my job is these guys.
The team,
the whole team, starting with them, but I'm a year and a half in, I've gotten to develop a great relationship with the branch managers, with the SSRs, with the warehouse guys, with certain drivers. So honestly, every one of these guys is very different. It's been great to learn what makes them tick.
Jared, before we go to Kevin and Brian, about if you could change one thing, what would it be?
About my job?
Yeah, just in general, Alside, your job, your team, anything. Or should I give you like 10 things?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's hard to say. I genuinely, this is no bullshit, and these guys will probably attest to it. I love my job.
Yeah.
And I'm really, really happy to be here. I think we could use some, honestly, I'll say it. I think I need another location up here. If I could get another location up here, even just a satellite, something small.
Spyglass?
Yep.
Yeah.
Some for windows and 6 colors and siding.
Yeah.
I think it would alleviate a lot of pressure. I tell Keith on a regular basis that if we get a spyglass location up here for Nick, it'd blow that out of the water.
Yeah. Kevin, what about you? Most positive thing you like about your role?
I mean, for me, it's the organization. You still have the individuality of the locations. We have a lot of influence, in terms of where we're successful. We have the liberty to go out and make deals.
Yeah.
Whereas like a lot of our competition,
They're pigeonholed.
Yeah. There's only so much that you can do to really sell. Whereas, for me, it's always been, we trust your knowledge, Kevin, and we trust your judgment. If you're out there and you need to make a deal and, you have the thought process behind it to justify where you need to be, we're comfortable, riding that out with you.
That's how it should be, though, honestly.
Yeah, but it's cool, where we can do that. And then, honestly, I have a great team here. I work really well with my inside guys. So it's Alside, which is funny because when I left Lansing and took this job, I was told if you're going anywhere else, I'd say, hats off to you, but I don't think you're going to like it there. And I've fallen in love with this place. We sell products that people love and make dreams come true.
You brought up a good point about when you were leaving Lansing /Harvey/Lansing, there was no hats off because you were coming to Alside, right? And I think a lot of perception is the old Alside. People still don't realize who we are today. It's funny because a recruiter that I've known forever, and they're a high-level executive recruiting firm, and I stay in touch with them, not for a job, just to shoot the breeze, because I established a relationship with this recruiter that did place me at one point. And they will not recruit for Alside, or they wouldn't recruit for Alside because the turnover rate in the past was so high and there was so much negative connotation about the company. They didn't want to place people there. So be it, like a week ago, my phone rang and it was them, and now they want to recruit for Alside. So I think the new Alside is kind of getting out there, though we still have our issues and problems just like every other company does. But I think competition is starting to recognize us a little more. I think internally, corporate is doing a great job at building like a real functioning company with a lot of these new hires in sales enablement, data analysis, and all of these fun positions that are not revenue generating positions. These are positions just to really benefit you guys out in the field, So they're reinvesting in the company, where we sell all products now, which is freaking amazing because for the both of you, really all four of us, it's like, shit, we don't have to walk away from anything now. We sell competitors' products. I thought this was Alside. It's strange to see a lot of our branches stock Hardy. We just did a huge LP Smart Side job on the island. So, you have all these other avenues, which is cool. And it's cool to see the direction that that Alside is heading in. That being said, Brian, what about you? What do you love about it?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a couple things that I love about it.
Yeah.
Number one, like from start to finish, the sales process. I'll say it like this: the process is different.
All right.
But what I enjoy, one of the things I enjoy most about this job is planting that seed, and then a year later saying, "Hey, I was just talking to so and so. I remember we spoke back when," and seeing that lead come to fruition.
Yeah.
And so how cool is
so
that?
winning, like the winning part of it.
Just the winning part.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, that came through.
Yeah.
And you didn't think it would, that conversation that you had and that sample that you brought out and that, those 3 or 4 steps that you take.
Yeah.
And then you get ghosted.
Yeah.
But
all day, every day.
Yeah. Which is fine. It's part of the job.
What do you do when you get ghosted?
I cry. I go home.
No, I mean, what I tell the team down south is do not give up until they tell you stop freaking calling me. And literally, I tell all of them that, and I have not had one TSM tell me they told me to stop calling them. Like they've gotten orders from it. Because you got to remember, these guys are out there running a business just like we're all kind of running our own businesses. How many building supply reps are calling on them? It's just another phone call. They're trying to wrap up Mrs. Jones's house that the siding came the wrong color and the corner posts are wrong. And now Brian's calling saying, hey, we have this new Ascend. Do you want to take a look at it? So it's challenging for the customers also. But when you get ghosted, do you just give up and that's it?
No, not at all. I mean, if you can't handle the heat, get out of the kitchen. You got to have thick skin in this business.
Exactly.
And part of that is getting ghosted and moving on to the next, but always keeping them in your back pocket.
Yeah.
But so yeah, that's one of the things that I love, is planting that seed and seeing it come to fruition. And then to Kevin's point, when you quote out a job, when you sell a job, when it goes on the truck, and when that siding finally goes up on that building and you go see that contractor and you're looking up at that wall and that house or that whatever it is, there's no better feeling because you did all of that.
It's corny, but there's a sense of pride. When you drive past even if it's a single family residential house or forget multifamily, I get really excited. When you drive past these projects that you sold that material that's probably going to sit on that wall for another 30, 40 years. Like you were part of that structure, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think those two things and the relationship with your team here at the branch or your customers, the contractors, you do it for all that too.
Kevin, you brought up personalities. You meet the most unique people, I think, to walk the face of this planet.
And it's one of the fun parts of the job too. It's also one of the bad parts of the job too. Because there's a lot of customers I've come across in my life that I still talk to this day. They don't even buy from us, but I still talk to them.
You created relationships with them.
But there are ones that if I saw them hanging off a cliff, I probably wouldn't reach out because they're just bad people.
I don't know what it is about this particular industry. My wife's in the industry also. She's been in the industry for 25 years. And we walk after dinner every night. So that's a lot of our topics of conversation. She deals with a lot of the same reps that I deal with. So we basically just talk shit about everybody when we go for our walk. And I find out who's perverted and who's not, who tried hating on her and all of that fun stuff.
It's funny you say that. My wife, I know Kevin said this earlier, that he was in the social work field.
Yeah.
My wife is a social worker.
Oh, really?
She works for the VA hospital. And a lot of the time we come home from work, both of us, and we compare notes.
Yeah.
Her patients and my patients.
That's so true.
And it's at the end of the day, we're dealing with people. And
exactly. Jared and Kevin, when you guys go home, do you shut it off? Like you don't talk about work with your significant others? Or is it like you'll sit there and just not stop complaining about the day or what happened that day? Or what does that look like for you guys?
I would describe myself as an introverted extrovert.
Yeah.
So I only have a finite of words that I can speak in a day. And I talk all day long.
So you've exhaused them now and then in an hour.
Yeah. By the time that I get home at the end of the night,
you're done.
I am typically talked out. My wife will break down her day and fill me in. But I'm typically how was your day? My day was fine.
Yeah.
Same.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I'm the opposite. I do not stop. Again, similarity. My wife's in the industry, so there's a lot in common there, and we know a lot of the same people. I mean, it's right up until I get out of the shower. My shower is where my mind does not stop racing, and I'll get out and still be in my towel and just be like, ba 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 to my wife through the door or into the bedroom, So, I don't think I should ask her if she gets annoyed at that. She might. I guess I should find out. Yeah. When you guys answer a call, do you put it on speaker or you put it right to your ear?
I typically start in my ear.
You do?
And then if it's it's an okay conversation, you can kind of pop it on. But if I'm around people.
Yeah. What about you guys?
I go speaker.
Speaker? Do you say you're on speaker?
I don't.
Big no-no, Brian.
I don't, yeah.
First thing, I'm always on speaker. Not always, depending my audience. But I'll always say it immediately.
I noticed that this morning with Melissa. That was her first call.
Yeah, because she will just let loose.
Yeah.
And not that she's talking about you guys, but I don't know the next words to come out of her mouth. So
especially when you're driving in the car too.
Oh, if you have someone in the car with you, I'm in the car with, you know, I'm in the car with Dan.
Yeah.
You know?
Watch what you say.
All right, guys, you could sit here for hours and kind of do this, but I want to thank the three of you for jumping on this. All right, gentlemen,
Absolutely.
pleasure.
Thanks.